بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Let me start with thanking you all actually for giving me this chance to talk to you. I'm really so happy. I have to thank Dr. Muhammad also for insisting to bring me here actually and squeezing me last week. It was a short notice, but alhamdulillah, we managed at least to participate in half of the day maybe. Indeed, it's actually the subjects you are talking about are very, very important. They are very important because they talk about the future of our young generation. They are very important because actually they can control the future of the youth, boys and girls in Muslim world, not only Muslim world, but actually in many parts of this world. The problem we are having here today, actually, what makes it worse, that is actually it is sometimes covered with religion. And that makes it more difficult because, first of all, it makes it for some people a taboo. That is, we cannot touch it because it's with religion. And also, that makes it complicated for those even who want to talk about. And I think Islam itself is really harmed by such issues in Muslim world or anywhere, actually. Islam is harmed because actually this causes more and more misunderstanding and misinterpretation overall, and repeated till those actually who are not Muslims or never read anything about Islam really will think it is true, it's a fact, while it's not a fact. It's not. How many minutes I have, first of all? I have collected some ideas actually. Actually, I think the cornerstone of the whole thing, what we have, is not the religion. The cornerstone, actually, or the most important piece of it all, are two things: poverty and education. Poverty and education. Education is actually very, very important. And since I came here in London, actually, I have noticed that we are facing a horrible mixture of religion and traditions together. They are mixed together in the Muslim minorities and communities' minds and presented always as a religion. If you want to break it, sometimes they say, well, no, this is Islam, and this is what's said in Islam. While actually in many, many cases, it's not Islam. It is actually our traditions. It is the way how I learn from my society, how I learn from my community, and I want to practice it. And I will never forget actually a few years ago when a young man who is actually about 30 years old, he's not too young anyway, not a child, not in our scope of talking today. He's about 30 years old. He actually ran to my office as a shelter from his father. He said, my father wants to let me marry and force me to marry a certain girl. Can you imagine this? When I talked to the father said, he's my son and he must marry the girl I choose for him. I gave my word to the other family, I will never change it. Okay, where is Islam in this? Islam is not there at all. And the father himself is a good Muslim as far as I know. And I see him in the mosque almost every day. I brought the father, I talked to him. It was so hard to at least little bit to change the whole thing. And this is the problem, this is the mixture. And all what you see sometimes, this if the female circumcision, if we call it, and the forcing the children to marry, or the early marriage, this is actually came from traditions more. Even if it was practiced sometimes in some communities in the old age, in the first generations of Islam or Arab world, maybe in certain area for certain circumstances, it doesn't give the right actually to give this and to do it all the time. I'm going to talk about some things about this. Ignorance about religion is a really big problem. And the strange thing that is here, the education we are presenting about Islam doesn't cover the social life. It covers only worship. How to do prayer, how to do zakat, how do calculating zakat, how do you fasting in Ramadan or going to Hajj, what do you do, which is also important. But actually very rarely we see education about life, about marriage. This is very rare. And even in the curriculum, that is, we find little bit, only some information, sometimes about the rights of wives and rights of husband. But it's not enough, actually. Not enough to give courses for young girls and for young boys really to know more and more about their rights, about what they should practice and what Islam is. There is also one thing actually I have to draw the attention of it. Some people do not know about it or maybe forget it. That is, any legislation that is the government anywhere see this legislation is important to protect people's life and protect their future will become a part of the religion itself. Because the religion itself gives the legislator to do the right, to think what is good for people. So when the authorities allow something or do not allow something, it means we have to listen to this because this is the regulation of the society. I cannot say, well, no, I don't listen to this because I don't like it or I'm not convinced about it. So all the things in any country, like in Yemen, for example, in this part of the world, which we all love actually so much, which is rich of folklore, rich of culture, rich of everything, where actually it is the origin of all the Arabs actually. This part, for example, when there is a new legislation, we might have to deal with it as a part of the authority, as a part of the religion itself, because it is studied and legislated by the authority there. In Islam itself, there is a rule which says there is no harm. Islam doesn't allow harm at all. We are fasting today, or many of us, the Muslims, are fasting, but if this harms your health, you should not fast. You should not fast. If any marriage actually destroys the life of the man or the woman, must be broken by the law itself, by the court. And the sister who talked, that is when the young child, a female child, run to the court asking for divorce, it is difficult because there is no legislation, there is no law. No, there is law in Islam, but you need a real judge. You need a real judge. Islam is, the rule is there. Whenever there is harm for the wife, the court, the real Islamic court, can break it in any time. Whatever the reason, as long as you are sure there is harm for one of them. Even the husband, for example, if he claims there is harm, the husband, of course, has the divorce, but the wife has what we call it the fasq in Sharia Islami. That means she breaks the marriage even against the will of the husband. But men very rarely talk about this. They talk about the other side of the story. Anyway, this is actually very, very, very important. And the problem also that is educating in religion, it comes also to the judges themselves. They must be educated. They must practice their authority according to the Islam itself, which allows them to break such marriages because they are destroying the childhood of these girls. Poverty, of course, you have talked a lot actually about poverty, and poverty really is one of the most difficult problems in all the world. Not only in Yemen, but everywhere, almost everywhere. Sometimes for those who cannot actually imagine, that is a father who presents his daughter of maybe she's 10 years old and he can present her to another man as a wife against money. They think of the money only. No, the story is not only like that. The story is this father actually, when he gave his daughter, or he gives his daughter, he's not giving her because he doesn't like her. No, he loves her, and the mother loves her so much. But the two couple, the husband and the mother and the father, they are really between the horns of the dilemma. They have a problem. There is a real poverty in the family. Some of them, of fathers, they want to save the girl, and that's why they give her as a wife. So they think the opposite way around. Yeah. They think they can save her. He is poor, he cannot guarantee for her a future or life. Then he give her to this man with the hope that is maybe she will be okay and she will live a good life with this man. But if the father himself can afford her, he will never do this. And many families, I'm sure, did this with tears in their eyes. But there is no other choice. I'm not saying let it stay as it is, but I'm saying what the situation is with these actually parents. It's not enough really to criticize this practice. You have to fight poverty. You have to think of development. You have to think of relief initiatives in Yemen to save these families and to bring them some of the trust actually, and to give them a hand of help. Then this is the best way to stop this. I'm sure the fathers and mothers will never do it if they really can afford their lives. At least 90% or 95% of them, at least. But poverty is really a problem. So I hope really with this remarkable efforts of women here, and maybe other organizations can really do something to accelerate really the wheel of development and relief works in Yemen in a way or another. With the international organizations, with the UN, with anybody. But somebody must do something really to save those poor people, not to let them just for destiny like this. Education, when we talk about it, education must go to the curriculum. We have to go back to the schools, to the roots, to do something in the education. What Dr. Qais mentioned about this, difference in superiority of boys with girls, it's true. It is practiced and it is seen, it is here in all our communities. And there are things that is we give the boys the impression that is they are, special. And the girls the impression that is they are actually not. They don't enjoy this privilege that is the boy have, which is of course wrong. You cannot attack this and you cannot remove it till you go back to the roots, to the curriculum itself to do something in it. You have to make more courses for women themselves, even short courses in villages, in cities. You have to educate people here. And I'm really shocked. I was shocked and surprised a few years ago when we had with one of the doctors here in London, we have designed actually a short program for girls. We call it Academic Approach for Muslim girls. I was really shocked with the questions I received from the girls about some things in faith, some things about Islam, some things about their life or some problems. I never thought that they had this or they had this misunderstanding about their faith, and they are born a Muslim, they live in the society here, they live within the Muslim community sometimes, and they talk this as facts from the society and the community. Educating religious people, clergy, especially the judges, this is very, very important. And this is really a real problem. They must be educated. When a real judge, a real Muslim judge, sit and who is really educated and who understands Islam in the right way, believe me, he has really a very, very, let's say, superpower. He can really do a lot of things based on the faith itself. The faith is not actually like a cage that is you are in and then you cannot go out. No, but you need the right judge. You need the right judge. And sometimes we hear some actually judgments from some courts. I wonder how come how could they happen? How did the judge himself take this from Islam? I don't understand. I don't know. When I read it sometimes, the explanation of it, it's totally far. He's looking for another angle, another dimension of the whole case. Of course, without legislations, new regulations, actually, this will not be also enough to stop this practice. If we fight poverty, educate people, you need also legislations, as you said. In some countries, without mentioning some names, in some countries, the honor crimes, the maximum actually sentence can get in the court is 6 months. Yeah, this is it in their law. So, what could stop a young man or a man from killing his daughter or his sister because he just doubted about her? 6 months. 6 months is nothing in their sight, in their thinking, compared to honor of the family. Anybody can say, well, I will go there 6 years even, to clean and to make the honor of the family. This is the way how people think. So you need to educate people before. You need also to put legislation to stop this. In Saudi Arabia, since about 15 years, I think, any religious man, when he wants to do the marriage, he must ask the girl, do you agree with this? In case if she says no, by law, he is entitled not to do the marriage. Of course, this is not too old. It's about 20 years now in Saudi Arabia, but it's practiced. It's done. And why it came like this? Because many girls came and contacted really some people there, some muftis, some religious people, to complain, to say that we are forced to marry. So now there is a new legislation since about 20 years to any person, the one who conducts the marriage with the certificates, he cannot issue this till the girl is there and he asks her this question, do you accept this marriage, this is your husband, or you are forced? He said yes, then he does it. If she says no, he said, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. That's it. You need something like that also actually in Yemen. Now, I will not take actually a long time, but I will come to complete what Dr. Qais actually mentioned about is really the problem in Islam, the real Islam, or the problem in the Islam which we understand? I think the problem is in the Islam that is we understand, not in the real Islam. we have a lot of misinterpretation about Islam itself. Until today, you still have some people who are arguing about the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ with Aisha. Actually, it is because it is mentioned in Al-Bukhari, and Bukhari, of course, is the most authentic book in the Sunnah Nabawiyyah. I know that, but we have to remember what is mentioned in Al-Bukhari is actually not the words of the Prophet himself. It is actually one of the companions said that. The one who said that, Ibn Abbas, when the Prophet ﷺ died, he was 13 years old. And there are new studies now. I have seen a brother, I forget the name actually, who wrote a very nice booklet about this issue. He's in Birmingham. He actually used a philological methodology to see this, to check this case based on this hadith or this tradition. When he calculated this backwards in the history, what Aisha attended in her life, she attended, for example, this event in the life of the Prophet. She was there in that time, and there are 10 years difference in age between her and Asma, her sister. He came to the conclusion that she was 17 when she was married. Yes. Jamal al-Banna himself, in who died about 3 years ago, he wrote actually an article about this. I think he wrote it after the Pakistani guy from Birmingham. Because I have seen that one about 10 years ago, the Pakistani article, but the other one in Arabic from Jamal Banna in Egypt, actually I have seen it only, it is actually published only 3 years ago. He used the same technique. This is something like philological way, how to check the text, how to compare the dates, compare actually the events with each other, when she was there, when she was not there, what she attended, what she narrated. In other hadith, completed everything. He came to almost the same result as she was 17.
Could be.
It could be. This is actually a place, but I'm just giving an example. There is also another thing which is about Islam, that is some people always repeat, that is women take half of men. Well, actually, this is not the case all the time. Sometimes men take more than women. Sometimes women take more than men. The mother takes sometimes more than the son. The mother takes sometimes more than the uncle or the father himself. It depends on who is left in the family when the person dies. You have to calculate and see. There is a mathematical way how to calculate who is there. There is a father, there is a mother, there is sister, there is daughter, there is no daughter, there is only one wife, two wives, whatever. Then you calculate it. Not in all cases, women take less or half or 50% of men. This is not true. In many cases, women take more than men. I can give you a lot of examples. Actually, women take more. So people repeat this, but without examining what we call it ilm al-fara'id. Ilm al-fara'id, this is a branch of knowledge in Islam. All Muslims know it. It's about the heritage, how to calculate the heritage after the death of one person, who owns what and who deserves what. This is very important. This is actually, and also in the witnesses, the testimonies in the court. Not always also men have double than women. In some cases, no, men or women are equal. It depends also on the case itself. So there are a lot of things actually about Islam that is, we just repeated them all the time. We inherited them from other people and we think they are fact. They are not facts. We have to come back to Islam itself. So we have a problem with the Islam that is we understand, but I don't think we have the problem actually with the real Islam when we go deep in it and we examine the text and we check really the real fatwas of the great imams of Islam, even the old ones. You will find really, sometimes you find some things amazing. You cannot imagine that there is really this fatwa since, for example, 600 years ago or 700 years ago, but it is there. The problem is that we didn't check it. I'm not here actually defending only Islam, but I'm just giving you the information to complete this mosaic about the society, about the traditions, about families, about social life, about religion and faith. But this is really important. Again, I have to repeat, that is education is really very important. Even here in UK, we are really, you can say education is everywhere, but within the Muslim community, education about Islam itself is really less than it should be, even about Islam itself. Less than it should be. And of course, poverty. Poverty is something I believe only governments and international big organizations can do solution for it. But without our hands and without our help, it will be impossible. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum.